Welcome back to Squawk. New overnight, Disney says it's sold out of ad inventory for Sunday night's Oscars. Ad rates continue to rise, even as viewership expected to continue its decline. Joining us right now is Ed Lee, New York Times media reporter. Also, Sarah Fisher, Axios media reporter, with us as well. Ed, let me start with you. What are we expecting? I mean, the Oscars, almost every year, the ratings have continued to decline. What does it say about the movie business long term at this point?
The movie business has become sort of like this, extreme thing, right? You've got sort of big blockbuster sort of comics movies on one end, and then, smaller movies at the other. There's no more of this middle. There's no more, we're not seeing as much of sort of the Tom Hanks sort of, I guess what you call middlebrow type movie that actually does well at the box office. So, even the product itself is so extreme. And I think, that it's reflected in the award seasons in terms of what's been winning over the last few years. And I think the mainstream just kind of tunes out of that a bit.
Sarah, though, but what is going on? I mean, I don't know if you saw Bill Maher maybe a week or two ago where he said, look, every movie that's nominated for an Oscar, makes you depressed. And typically have been considered smaller movies. What is happening?
Well, you'll remember a lot of the big movies, think about something like a Die Hard, or even the Lin-Manuel Miranda film that's supposed to come out, got pushed later into 2021 because the movie studios wanted to make sure that they could actually make some theater revenue. Well, when you push the theaters out of award season, what you're left with is a bunch of dramas. Now, these dramas are super compelling. I encourage people to see them, Nomadland, Minari. But you're right, they are super depressing, they're super down, and that could be drawing people away. People want to see their favorite actors who they know really well, their favorite themes and storylines, some sequels. They want to see that stuff being represented. That's what's going to cause them to tune in. And so it wouldn't shock me if viewership just plummets because people don't even have awareness of what's being nominated this year.
But this is not just a problem this year. This is not a pandemic issue. This is a problem that's been going on frankly, for a decade, Ed, and I don't really understand what's going on in terms of the Academy, in terms of how it thinks about these films. And also, I'm assuming it effectively devalues, what a win really looks like in terms of how much. I mean, it used to be that Oscars were used to market films. That's what part of what was happening here. And that boost doesn't seem to happen anymore.
The boost doesn't happen anymore, you're right, but they're still essential to the economics of Hollywood in terms of attracting creators to studios, right? So like Netflix spends a lot of money actually now marketing its movies to for Oscar nominations, right? Because they know that, people, they're not going to want to work with Netflix no matter how much they're paying them if they're not going to back their projects for awards. So these guys, they still want the awards even if people aren't watching the award ceremonies. And, the Oscar telecast, you're right, it's not just a pandemic thing. For years, the audiences have been declining. I think it peaked in the late 90s at like 60 million viewers. Last year was like 23, 24 million when Parasite won, which was a very, very interesting year if you think about it in terms of it's a foreign film that won, Best Picture, and that rarely happens with the Oscars. So, again, it speaks to what Hollywood wants, the economics of Hollywood. But in terms of the country, in terms of, where it's at, it's been the country's so fractured, right? The other thing that I found is that, when all the political speech that happens, in these awards sort of acceptances, people tend to tune out, So again, in a divided country, politically divided country, any kind of political speech tends to sort of turn people away as well.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.